Another headline, which I always rather like, was my very, very first state visit, and again it was the Eastern Caribbean, and in Belize, the former British Honduras, the Queen was attending the state banquet, which given up by the Governor General, Dame Aminta Gordon, and on the menu was this thing called Mascal Roasted Gibnut. And Mike Cole, who was then the BBC television royal correspondent, who later took Mohammed Al Fayed's shilling, said to me, he said, check out this Mascal Roasted Gibnut. I've had a whisper that it's a rodent. And I thought, okay. So I went down to Belize City, to the library, and I found the Encyclopedia Britannica, circa 1935, turned up Gibnut, and there it was, a rodent. And a picture of it, a drawing, a rat, with whiskers. And I thought, this headline flashed through my head, Queen eats rat. Not quite in the league of Freddie Starr ate my hamster, but I thought Queen eats rat would be quite good. But being the PA, I had to get someone in the royal household to verify. And would they say it was a rat? No, great Belizean delicacy. No, local delicacy. So I persisted with this. And finally, I got a lady in the British High Commission in Belmopan, which is the capital of Belize, to admit that it was a rodent. And I said, well, could it be called a rat? Well, she said, yes, I suppose so. I thought that was enough for me. So I wrote my copy. I wrote the story about, I didn't say it was a rat, but I put a sort of a memorandum on the bottom describing all its antecedents, and anybody worth their salt on a news desk would think rat. So I watched the Queen eat the rat. I ate the rat, and very nice it was too. And I went to bed, duty done. And at 4 a.m. I could hear the phone ringing in the room next to me in this press hotel we were staying in. And it's occupied by the Daily Mirror photographer. And I could hear this conversation. Queen, rat, jungle, expletive, deletive. And obviously they wanted to do the headline, Queen eats rat. And I thought, oh God. So I got up, and there in the corridor was the Daily Mirror photographer, dear old Terry Fincher, and now no longer with us. Wonderful guy. He said, what have you done? He said, what have you done? He said, they want me to go into the jungle to photograph gibnuts. And I said, oh, well, sorry, Terry. And on every roll tour you have a minder who looks after you, a guy from the local government. And I had this wonderful minder, this wonderful Caribbean guy. And I rang him, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, he said, I can't do the Carib accent. But he said, don't worry, dear boy, he said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. I knew he turned up in his beaten up old car. And he drove us down to Belize City, and there waiting for us was the zookeeper. And the zookeeper opened up the zoo, and there, slumbering in captivity, were any number of gibnuts, only to be woken by it was flash in those days, by the flash of Terry's camera. All these gibnuts serving the needs of the modern media. So everybody got their picture, gibnuts, everybody got their headline, and I could wash my hands like Pontius Pilate, mea culpa, and say, I never said it was a rat, I just let everybody make up their own mind. So that was my first headline, as the Press Association Royal Correspondent, Court Correspondent. Palace weren't best pleased. And when I got back to London, the Queen's Press Secretary, Michael Sheehan, this gibnut story, was that you? And I said, well, yes it was. He said, you've only been in the job 4 weeks, and here you are, virtually persona non grata. But I had to say, no, I got away with it.
A big scoop. That must have gone all around the world, that headline.
It did go around the world, yeah. that headline. Absolutely all around the world. PA loved it. Palace didn't.
Big scoop for you though. You must have felt, done it, made it.
We didn't call things scoops. No, we called them good stories.
Did you get a personal congratulations from your masters?
Well, yes, I got a sort of mini encomium from the editor. Said, well, I think you've earned your spurs.
But you were tipped off by a colleague.
Michael Chron. I was tipped off by a colleague. Of course, he did it for BBC Television too. But not until I'd done it. I mean, he got me to do it first, because the time scale meant, I mean, he wasn't going on the air till 9 o'clock in the morning. But PA 24 hours round the clock, you know. I did it, so therefore he could do it and get away with it.
Of course, you've been knighted by the Queen, haven't you?
Good heavens, no. I haven't been knighted by the Queen, no. But I got, I mean, I went on from Royling to be Public Relations Officer at the Prince's Trust, but that was nothing to do with it. I got the MVO, membership of the Royal Victorian Order, which is in the Queen's personal gift for personal services. And every 4 years she gives a bash down at Windsor Castle, to which I get an invite. And first of all, we had to go and pray. In St George's Chapel, Windsor, they had the service. And and all the royal family turn up. It's all rather sort of glamorous, actually, sort of lots of lovely sort of trumpets and fanfares, and then you walk up to the castle and you get pierced. And in fact, you meet lots of old friends, the ghosts of Christmas past. Some of them on Zimmer frames. It's quite disconcerting.
Any anecdotes about the Queen Mother?
Oh, the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mother. I thought she was marvellous. I mean, she scattered stardust, which she really did. Unlike the Queen, who really has to work on it. But the Queen Mother has no sort of. The Queen Mother's a born actress. There's a wonderful piece in the Daily Mirror written by quite a famous Mirror economist, and I can't remember his name now. She said, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, is 90 today. No other actress need apply. But I remember when she was 90, and you know, they used to have this sort of birthday parade, that's the only way I can call it, outside Clarence House. And I've been there since about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's boiling hot, but she's still going strong at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, by which time I'd sunk into the gutter, which you might think is the right place for a journalist. She came along and she said, oh, she said, Mr. Corby, she said, you look very hot and very tired and very thirsty. I said, well, ma'am, I said, I am very hot, very tired and very thirsty. And she went on her way with a twinkle in her eye. And 5 minutes later, the page of the backstairs appeared, Billy Italian, Backstairs Billy, with a silver salver and a bottle of champagne and a champagne flute, just for me. So I was her slave for life. I was very lucky as a journalist to have done it as during the Diana years, because I knew there were real stories. And I mean, some of my predecessors must have found it slightly hard. They were really more retailers of what was dished out to them, especially in the days of the abominable no-man Culver. I mean, the first court correspondent, George Morton Smith, known as Royal Smith, in the days of Queen Victoria, had to wear a black silk hat, a tail coat, which just used to follow the Queen around. It evolved. By the time I came along, it was a big news story, probably outside politics and Mrs. Thatcher, the biggest news story in the canon. So yes, it was quite an important job. And you never know what's going to pop up next. You never knew what Diana or the Grand Duchess Fergiana was going to say or let slip. You just never knew. And of course I got the role interviews, which was a great perk. And all the role tours, I went around the world 5 times. think the only country I haven't been to is Rwanda. I think I can give that a miss. But there were also all the state visitors. I remember Mugabe in 1994, he came round. He came over on a state visit. I mean, the Queen entertains all these state visitors. Many of the people she doesn't want to entertain at all. Doesn't really want to speak to them, but she has to because it's at the behest of the Foreign Office. She has no choice. Mugabe was the thing. I remember the state banquet. The incoming visitor has a choice of music, which is always played by a guards band. And Mugabe chose for his music the best of half a sixpence, and If I Rule the World, which I thought was hilarious. The director of music gets a stiff with skids and sandwiches afterwards. And another state visitor, Ceausescu, he used to wash his hands in white spirit after he's shaken hands. He was convinced that the palace was bugged, and he'd walk around the palace gardens with his henchmen. It's the only place he'd talk to them. And Queen was rather slightly put out that he used to wash his hands with white spirit after he'd spoken to, after he'd shaken hands with all sorts of people. The state visitors, they're a very mixed bag, and try to think of somebody else who's quite... Oh yes, of course, the Emperor of Japan. Hirohito. That's another difficult one, because the Burma Star people demonstrated, and also Mountbatten found a reason, who was the Supreme of Far East Command, found an excuse not to go to the state banquet. Then Akihito came on, exactly the same thing happened. The Burma Star people turned their backs on him, and things were thrown to his carriage. State visits were always quite fun, and my favourite, I think, is Valesa, because the Queen, I remember, that was done at Windsor, and there he was, the former shipyard worker for Gdansk, occupying the suite in Windsor Castle. Former occupant, I think, had been President Reagan or somebody like that. And the Queen said, "No, I think I'll light a fire in his room to make him feel more at home." I had a wonderful time, a very, very difficult time. And here was I, this boy, this Essex boy from Southend in it, and educated locally, and suddenly doing this extraordinary job with all these extraordinary people. I couldn't believe it was happening.